I speak 11 languages. The black cleaning lady said proudly. The millionaire laughed but was left in shock. The boardroom glittered with arrogance. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting sharp lines across polished wood and expensive suits. Four executives sat around the table, papers scattered before them, their laughter echoing as though the city below existed purely for their amusement. At the head sat Mr. Caldwell, the silver-haired millionaire whose voice carried the weight of power, his smirk always one step away from cruelty. Near the door, mop and bucket at her side, stood Naomi, the black cleaning lady in a blue uniform. Her yellow gloves were still damp from scrubbing, her back aching under the weight of her pregnancy. She had entered quietly to collect trash and wipe the table, intending, as always, to move like a shadow invisible. But today, invisibility was denied her. Look at her. Caldwell chuckled, pointing openly. Can you imagine? She's carrying a child and still scrubbing floors. The room erupted in laughter. One of the younger men, handsome in his sharp brown suit, leaned forward with a sneer. Tell me, sweetheart, what education do you even have? Did you finish high school, or did you start cleaning early? Naomi froze, clutching the trash bag tighter. Heat crept up her neck. She had been insulted before, often enough to numb herself, but the open cruelty stung sharper in this room, surrounded by wealth and smug faces. Another voice joined, the woman among them, her smile dripping with mockery. Honestly, it's pathetic. Do you know what we studied to sit here? Law, finance, international relations. And you? You polish tables. Maybe your child will aim higher. She laughed softly into her papers. The third man leaned back, his grin wide. What could she possibly do besides clean this? He waved at the skyscraper view behind them. This world isn't built for people like her. The laughter swelled again, cruel, casual, as if she were not a human being, but a caricature for their amusement. Naomi's heart pounded, her eyes burning. She wanted to disappear. But then her gaze fell on her swollen belly. She thought of the child inside her, of the life she carried. If she stayed silent, she was teaching her unborn baby to bow to shame. And that she could not do. Slowly, she set the bag down, her arms crossed over her chest, yellow gloves stark against her blue uniform. The room quieted slightly at the change in her stance. Mr. Caldwell smirked. Well, do you have something to say, maid? Her voice when it came was steady. Steady despite the tremor in her chest. You laugh at me because you think cleaning means stupidity. You think a uniform erases my mind. But let me tell you something. She drew a breath. I speak 11 languages. Silence slammed the room. The executives blinked, their smiles faltering. Caldwell's laugh bubbled up again, but it sounded uncertain this time. 11? He scoffed. You expect us to believe that? Naomi met his gaze without flinching. French, Spanish, German, Russian, Arabic, Mandarin, Hindi, Swahili, Italian, Japanese, English. 11. She ticked them off on her gloved fingers, her tone calm, deliberate. The younger man's smirk wavered. That's impossible. You're a cleaner. Naomi's eyes glistened, but her chin lifted higher. Yes, I am a cleaner because life took everything I had. I had to survive when my parents died, when tuition went unpaid, when no one cared what I was capable of. But none of that erased my mind. None of it erased the years I spent studying. The nights I whispered vocabulary into the dark. The mornings I translated books no one else in my neighborhood could even read. Her words pierced the room. The laughter was gone now, replaced by a suffocating tension. The executives shifted in their chairs, their arrogance shrinking against the calm fire of her truth. You ask what education I have. Naomi whispered, her voice trembling with both fury and pride. Enough to understand the contracts you sign without reading. Enough to translate the languages you hire expensive interpreters for. Enough to know that your laughter says more about your ignorance than my uniform ever could. The silence in the boardroom stretched unbearably, broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioner. The executives sat frozen, their laughter swallowed whole by Naomi's revelation. Mr. Caldwell, still seated at the head of the table, leaned back in his chair, his smirk flickering but refusing to die. Words are cheap, he said slowly, his tone a mixture of mockery and unease. Anyone can claim they know things, but you 11 languages prove it. The challenge hung in the air. Naomi's heart hammered, her knees trembling beneath her uniform. Yet she refused to let them see weakness. She drew a slow breath and spoke. Her French was fluid, crisp, undeniable. Before the shock could settle, she switched to Spanish. Then Mandarin, the tone sharp and confident. Arabic followed, flowing like water. Russian clipped and strong, Italian smooth. One by one, the words tumbled effortlessly from her lips until the entire table sat staring as if a ghost had risen before them. No one laughed now. The young executive who had mocked her education gaped openly, his face pale. The woman who had spoken of her pathetic child pressed her lips together, color draining from her cheeks. Even Caldwell's hand tightened around his papers, his arrogance faltering as the weight of her words crashed over him. Naomi let the silence return, heavier than before. Her chest rose and fell with controlled breaths. "I am not just a cleaner," she said softly. "I am a woman who lost everything but refused to let her mind rot. I was once a scholar, a translator. I dreamed of working for embassies for the United Nations. But when my parents died, there was no money left. I cleaned houses to survive, then offices, then towers like this one. Every day I work unseen, spoken about as though I am less than human." Her voice cracked slightly, but she pushed on. "But language cannot be stolen from me. Knowledge cannot be mopped away. I carried it with me even when no one cared. And today you finally see it, because I refused to stay silent when you mocked me." The executive shifted, guilt settling into their faces. For the first time, they were not looking at her uniform. They were looking at her eyes, her posture, her truth. Caldwell's smirk had fully vanished. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again, but no words came. Finally, he exhaled and shook his head. "All these years," he muttered, his voice low. "All these years you've been walking these halls, and none of us ever saw you." Naomi folded her arms tighter, her eyes glistening but steady. "You never wanted to. People like me are easy to ignore. But maybe next time you laugh at a maid, you'll remember you don't know her story. You don't know what she carries." The words stung sharper than any insult. The men and women at the table exchanged uneasy glances, their arrogance stripped bare. Caldwell leaned forward at last, his tone subdued. "Naomi, forgive us. You've taught us something today, and you?" He hesitated, then nodded firmly. "You will never be invisible again. Not here." Naomi's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that the shame etched into their faces would last longer than a single meeting. But even if it didn't, she had done what mattered most. She had spoken for herself, for her child. Her belly shifted, then a small kick pressing against her uniform. She placed a hand over it, steadying herself. "I didn't need your permission to exist," she whispered. "But maybe now you'll remember that every person in this building does." The boardroom was silent. The millionaires who had laughed at her were left with nothing but shame and awe. And Naomi, the pregnant maid in blue, turned toward the door. She no longer moved like a shadow. She walked with her head high, each step echoing louder than their laughter ever had. Behind her, no one dared to speak. For the first time, they understood. True power doesn't always sit at the table. Sometimes it walks out in a uniform carrying truths that money could never buy. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.